No Rest for the Wicked tá aqui em Early Access aqui pra gente e foi um jogo que eu curti bastante na hora que eu testei. Mas o jogo, por estar em Early Access, ainda não tá concluído. E os caras aqui, os desenvolvedores, mandaram 25 minutos de novidades aqui pra gente. E rapaziada, pelo que eu ouvi falar, vai ter muita coisa adicionada aqui no jogo. Então vem comigo, curtir o vídeo, manda aquele crítica no like e vamos dar uma conferida aqui no que vai ter de novidade pro jogo, cara, que tô muito aguardando.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm Gennady. Welcome to our second Wicked Inside.
We know a lot of you have been eagerly waiting to hear more from us since we shipped our last major content update.
Right after early access launch, we spent weeks listening intently to your feedback while putting out numerous hotfixes and patches.
Then, after we felt that No Rest for the Wicked was in a good spot,
Você lembra
we
quando
launched
lançaram
our first big content
pesadaço
update, The Crucible.
do PC?
With the Crucible,
pesado
we introduced fresh enemies, brand new systems, and a fun mode to keep everyone entertained while we began work on our next major content update. But it's been a while since then, and today we'd like to explain why.
Our publisher for No Rest for the Wicked was Private Division, a
Ih, tu vai trocar?
subsidiary of Take-Two Interactive.
Take-Two decided to sell off Private Division, which was unexpected news for us. After some deliberation, we saw an opportunity.
Vai ficar
After months
independente.
of negotiations, we reached an agreement to buy the publishing rights for No Rest for the Wicked back,
Ah,
so
olha
that Moon
só.
Studios could become fully
Véi,
independent.
isso é legal.
This
Pode
legal
dar uma
process
liberdade
took
pra
time,
eles.
and we couldn't say much while it was all happening.
But today, we're excited to announce that it's all done, and that Moon Studios is now fully independent. We
Maneiro.
believe this will give you even more confidence in our vision, because we're free to build No Rest for the Wicked exactly how we want, without needing to ever go silent again.
We've used this extra time to create something truly
E,
special.
e podem lançar
Let's take a
no
look
tempo que eles
at the
quiserem,
bridge.
não vai ter pressão de ninguém pra lançar, que rola muito, né? Então isso é legal. Se tiverem condições mesmo de bancar por si próprio, isso é bacana.
The Breach represents the biggest content update we have ever shipped. We have heard you loud and clear. You wanted more out of our campaign. You wanted more story, more zones to play in, more enemies to fight, more bosses to test your metal against. In short,
Mais de
more
tudo. É
of
isso que eu ia falar.
everything. And that is exactly what we have been focusing on.
Our story continues immediately following Ellsworth's return to Sacrament. He summons his daughter Odessa from her prison cell, and their exchange reveals more about their relationship.
Take the upper passage out, then leave by the northwest gate.
What are you doing?
God Bennett often sleeps on duty, and the ramparts above him will be unmanned. Head north to Ermgard and Merrin, or west to the Glades. Anywhere but here.
So that's it then.
You have to go.
As a Sarim, players will have to venture forth into new areas we're introducing for the Breach. These are massive zones that essentially double the size of the world players got to explore so far. A lot has changed in the Sola Sacra since you've last visited. Southeast of Sacrament lies the Lowland Meadows, a once idyllic haven used by Sacrament's hunters to gather food and supplies. Ellsworth requests our presence on a secret mission, but a faction known as the Harvesters has taken over the region.
See? I told you this Sarim would come, and here they are.
Indeed. Your presence is welcome here. My friend is convinced that some threat awaits us at the Weeping Sisters.
As always at Moon, when it comes to level design, we deliberately craft every single inch of our world by hand. We do not rely on any procedural generation, and we believe that ultimately that will allow us to create an insanely expansive, interactive open world where every inch actually matters.
E o level design do jogo é bom mesmo, né, cara? Ele tem uma verticalidade muito bacana. Foi uma das...
Throughout your
que eu
journey
mais
through
gostei
the
do
meadows,
jogo, foi o
you
level
will
design dele.
encounter all new enemies. We have also introduced 2 new weapon archetypes, gauntlets and wands. Let's take a look at how these new weapons can be used to take down all new foes that you will encounter.
The Timberwhite here will try to take your life with his ginormous great axe.
É tipo
I know
monge, né?
some
Uma
of you already
manopla.
loved being able to suplex enemies in Wicked. It was only appropriate we
Drop
introduced
kick.
a drop kick.
É, virou WWE, velho. Mandou Hadouken.
Wormwood wretches and Limseed archers will keep you on your toes with brutal range attacks. Our Tremor Wave will make quick work of them. Rust Reavers present an even greater challenge. Equipped with 2 huge saws, your best bet is to keep your distance and counter when you find an opening.
Deeper within the meadows, the Copse Treader will try to block your path forward.
Esse bicho tem uma cauda esquisita, velho.
Study his movement patterns and keep a cool head. You might just prevail.
O alcance dele, velho. Pô, mas o Cadinho matava.
Obviously, we are also introducing all new bosses for the Breach, but we don't want to spoil everything just yet.
We know a lot of you already enjoyed how much love and care we're putting into all of these areas. And once again, we didn't shy away from really using verticality and hiding secrets everywhere. Even though you'll often fight for your life in all of these zones, every now and then you'll get to enjoy a serene scene of beauty.
Aprecia a paisagem. Eu gosto do estilo artístico do jogo, né,
Things
cara?
have changed in
Ele é bem
Sacrament too.
estilizado.
Caretaker
ao mesmo
Alden
tempo
has
tem
arrived
toque
in
de
town to
realismo.
plead for help, dealing with the Blight, a plague infestation destroying his home of Marin Village.
Excuse me, is it true that Governor Ellsworth has already gone north with that madrigal? The guard said as much, but I wasn't sure. Many doors in Sacrament stay shut to us, Dasha.
And if you exit Sacrament through its northwestern gate, you will find yourself in the once majestic Marin Woods.
Once Majestic.
Recently, the Marin
legal
Woods have been
ainda.
befallen by the Blight. It festered
tá
all
cheio de
throughout
bicho
the
de
woods,
praga, né,
and
gente?
players will have to find a way past it in order to advance. The Belak Tor are ferocious fighters. The Stalkinche here knows how to wield a club, and if you're not careful, they might just call in reinforcements. Our new wands builds are surprisingly effective. We can
Vamos ver a
cast
varinha.
ice darts to freeze our enemies. Cold Sling is a powerful ice evasion attack.
E vejam, nossa, e vejam até que ele dá uma rolada pra trás.
For the Heavy Feather, we'll use some more powerful spells our wands provide. We have since learned how to perform the Riven Twins Plague Explosion. And if you have enough focus, Lightning Bolt makes quick work of any enemy.
Halfway through Marin Woods, you'll encounter Marin Village, a peaceful woodland community of
bonitinho
Azula
lugar, hein?
Sacra.
Girassóis.
First traveler I've seen in ages. I'm amazed you made it to our village at all, stranger. Hardly anyone comes here anymore.
10,000 blessings, Serim, for returning us to ourselves.
Querido, velho.
The villagers in Marin provide new services and sell different items than the ones in Sacrament.
Ah, no mínimo, né?
My clod of a cousin's still
Vamos dar uns
hammering
itens.
away in Sacrament. Figured they would have run him off by now. Chased them out of town with their crooked pitchforks and bent spears. Might as well give it here.
In Marin, we will also meet Odessa's godmother, Irmgard, a connection to her Dasha heritage.
I remember when my mother used to sing me to sleep. You did too. Same lullaby.
Will I see you there? All of us at one table again?
I'm not welcome in Sacrament.
And in a return to the Nameless Pass, we'll explore new areas within it, learning more about the forces of the mainland.
We will not tolerate any more doubt within your ranks, Primus. Not while we knock on salvation's door.
Discipline takes time. It's earned, not bought.
The born god disagrees. Discipline is forged. It is a tool, molded in flame.
Meanwhile, we'll continue the story of Madrigal Selene and her vanguard, who seek to liberate the lost city of Caelin.
We're incredibly excited about this new chapter in our campaign, but we don't want to spoil everything just yet.
Parece que vai ter bastante coisa mesmo, né, mano? Da área nova.
Our intention for No Rest for the Wicked was always to provide players with an insane amount of content, even after they finish the campaign. After the events that unfold throughout the Breach, our Spilled Blood questline continues as any area within Isola Sacra can now be overtaken by the Pestilence. Once an area is infected, you'll suddenly have to fight enemies that you never encountered before in these areas. Defeat these enemies, and they might just drop all new Torn resources. Torn resources can be burned at any fire in order to further increase the challenge within an infected area. You will need to heavily upgrade your gear and perfect your build in order to succeed. But greater challenge also means greater rewards.
Ó, pegar uns itens maneiro.
Notice that with every enemy you slay, the pestilence spread meter at the bottom of the screen reduces. Slay enough enemies, and you will have to overcome only one more obstacle.
Getting rid of the infection means ripping it out at its root. If you manage to defeat the plague boss within the infected area, the entire zone will be cleansed of the pestilence once more.
Daria pra dizer que é uma mecânica meio roguelike?
A huge update. You will now find many more factions being able to take over the various areas within Isola Sacra.
Tudo bem que não tem recurso, né, que tipo fica durante a run só, mas
all of this is to change the way players think about retraversal in video games. We ultimately want to make every return feel as fresh and as exciting as it was the first time you played. And as you can see, we also introduced entirely new levels within the areas you're already familiar with.
In order to aid players in achieving the perfect build, we introduced quite a few changes that will make progression a whole lot more streamlined and fun. First off, we have revamped the way gear drops. We replaced the tiered approach and came up with a formula that takes the player level, the area level, and the enemy level into account, which results in an experience where any gear that drops will be approximately within your level range. Now, gear that used to only drop in earlier zones might just drop again, but at a higher level. We tried this out, and we ultimately see a much higher variety of gear throughout our playthroughs. We think it's a much more enjoyable looting experience.
É que você sabe que quando você cai o item, ele pelo menos a chance dele ser mais útil para você é maior.
Another big aspect that defines your build is of course the enchantments. So far, if your gear didn't drop with the enchantments you needed, your item would never reach its full potential. But we came up with a solution. If an item dropped with less than maximum possible amount of enchantments, you can now use a Fallen Ember to add another random enchantment to it. And if you have an enchantment on one of your items that doesn't quite fit your playstyle, Fallen Embers can now be used to re-roll that particular enchantment. Of course, Fallen Embers are also still used for respeccing your character, which makes Embers insanely valuable now.
We also introduced a new weapon rarity, Masterworks. Any Masterwork starts out as just a common item. If you decide to forego the RNG aspects of Wicked, you can bank on gems in order to fully customize your item. Gems will now show you exactly what effect they'll have depending on which item you slot them into. In our case here, we want to craft a build that heavily relies on and synergizes with focus. The benefit of common items is that we can completely customize them. Once we've fitted the maximum amount of gems into them, they now become a masterwork.
In general, we've introduced a whole slew of new weapons, runes and armor sets. We've also iterated on our list of enchantments in order to enable the creation of entirely new builds, while ridding ourselves of the enchantments that led to overpowered builds. Given that and the new loot drop algorithm, the sky is the limit when it comes to build variety.
Vai ser bem interessante, o sistema de equipamento mudou bastante, cara.
We also conducted a major balance pass on our stats, and we noticed that quite a lot of you didn't use shields all that much.
Eu usava mais o dodge mesmo.
So we changed the way they work. Instead of draining stamina, shields are now based around poise and stagger, and we try to ensure that each shield archetype feels unique. So we can't wait to see all your new sword and board builds.
Tu ainda perde vida, ó, tá vendo? Batendo, você tá perdendo uma vida, sei lá, hein? Mano?
Last but not least, if you've become a master playing No Rest for the Wicked, you should try our new hardcore characters. Permadeath is enabled for these, so once these characters die, they get downgraded to non-hardcore characters that can only be played on regular realms.
Ah, tá, você não perde o personagem, mas você perde o modo hardcore.
To slay the Aconite with a hardcore character.
O joguinho não é fácil não, tá? Eu achei o jogo bem desafiador.
Naturally, we also spent quite some time introducing a wide range of quality of life features and polished up what you've played so far of No Rest for the Wicked. For example, we've noticed that a lot of your houses looked similar to this one. Storage has always been incredibly important in any ARPG. On our current live builds, players can stack all that many items, and sorting hasn't been ideal yet. Let's switch over to our Breach update. We fixed that right up, and now allow players to stack a whole lot more items within their chests. And items now also get sorted in a beautiful way.
While we're in our home, we can show off another cool feature we added. We've added Whisper Stones, which enable fast travel to and from your house. So if you just want to quickly drop off items and gear while you're out and about, instead of having to first warp to Sacrament and then run to your home, you can now save that one step. Remember that you can place one Whisper Stone per house, so if you own multiple ones, you can even fast travel between them.
Our next change regards food cooldowns. We've removed the classic cooldowns entirely. Now you can consume meals instantly.
Isso vai dar uma facilitada tremenda no jogo, tá?
However, your stomach is no longer a bottomless pit. You have a limited number of meals you can eat during combat.
You'll be able to upgrade this limit through Plague Ichor, letting you extend how many times you can heal or buff yourself in battle.
Isso é legal.
This new approach aims to make combat more engaging and dynamic, rather than forcing players to just wait for a timer.
Ah, é tipo assim, é porque ele chama de comida, mas é tipo, você aumenta a quantidade de flasks que você tem, tipo
We know
isso.
timers and project wait times have been a major discussion point in our community. We're adding a new feature so you can contribute food and ingredients to make Adanas' workers, speeding up whichever building project they're currently tackling. We're always listening to your feedback, and we will keep iterating on the system. If you have thoughts, please keep sharing them.
And of course, we've been hard at work meticulously optimizing performance.
Isso aí é um ponto que eles
If
precisam
you
mesmo.
noticed any poor performance in a machine before, the Breach update should drastically improve your experience.
120 FPS, com qual
Speaking of
GPU
improvements,
isso?
our DLSS implementation has been updated to a newer version, which results in much crisper image and even better performance.
O famoso DLSS 4.
And these are just a few highlights.
E se não
In
tiver, a
total,
gente
we are
mesmo
counting more than 11,000 changes since we shipped the Crucible update.
Before we dive deeper, we'd like to clarify how you'll access the breach. You will need to replay No Rest for the Wicked to fully experience this update.
Padrão
All saves remain in a legacy build, but this approach ensures the
Early
breach
access.
is integrated as seamlessly as possible into the game. We realize this might be a surprise for some.
Não, pra
Ultimately,
mim não é.
the scope of the breach and the underlying changes led us here. But don't worry, you'll discover plenty of fresh content, quests, and loot to make restarting your journey worthwhile.
Pô, pode ser surpresa pra quem nunca jogou o jogo em Early Access, mas é assim mesmo, tá? Baldur's Gate também tinha update, você começava de novo,
Let's
normal.
discuss our roadmap next. It goes without saying that we will heavily support the Breach for the upcoming weeks after launch. You will once again see us react incredibly quickly to all of the feedback you guys might provide.
But we're also already hard at work on our next content drops. We've received hundreds, if not thousands of pleas begging for the co-op update. And we
Co-op?
know that our original roadmap had co-op before the breach. Rest assured, it will be the next thing we launch after this update.
Ah, não vai estar no lançamento, mas vai ser próximo.
The reason we ultimately decided to switch these
Co-op
updates
vai
was
ser
because we
maneiro.
wanted people to have more content to play once co-op releases. With the Breach update, there will be now a lot more content to explore with your friends.
After the co-op update, we'll be following up with
É
more
4 jogadores?
improvements
Quantos
and
jogadores
new
é?
systems. We'll expand Sacrament, improve housing, introduce farming, expand the Crucible, and of course, finish the campaign with more story and more quests and bosses. And we're very much aware that a lot of you finally want to play No Rest for the Wicked
Versão
on
completa.
all major consoles.
We have a ton of things planned to further improve on the foundation that we've laid so far, and we're excited to keep discussing all of these new releases and changes with you as we go along.
É, mas
Also,
ainda não tem
today
expectativa, hein?
marks the 10th anniversary
De
of
lançamento.
Ori. We released Ori and the Blind Forest on March 11th, 2015. It's been a wild ride for all of us here at Moon. So today, we'd like to use this opportunity to just say thank you.
Cara, o Ori,
Thank
inclusive, eu
you
joguei
to
ele
all of our
muito
fans who
pouquinho,
have
cara.
supported us
Tem
the
que só
whole
conferir
way
o jogo.
through.
Você
We
recomenda,
would
Bruno?
not be where we are today without you. We're now hard at work on the final bug fixing and polishing stages of this massive update.
E aí?
We want to make sure we get it just right. But before we wrap up, there is one more thing.
O lendário One
and
More
this
Thing.
one is near and dear to our hearts.
Ih, caramba, vamos lá, vamos ver.
Hello everyone, I'm Gareth Coker. My story with Moon Studios began more than 15 years ago when I received a message on an internet forum from them asking me if I'd be interested in composing the music for a small indie project. 4 years later, that small project blossomed into Ori and the Blind Forest. Now, we were all very young and just getting started, so for our second release, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, we set out to perfect everything about the original, and I couldn't be more proud of what we were able to create together. But our journey is not yet over. I'm happy to announce that I've been hard at work crafting an unforgettable score for the story, the characters, the locations, and the boss fights of No Rest for the Wicked. And you will finally be able to hear some ambient music while out exploring in the world too.
Caraca, nem tinha.
I can't wait to
lembrava
see
que não
where
tinha.
this journey leads us once again. It leaves
Tinha
me to
menos
invite you
trilhas.
to experience the all-new music in No Rest for the Wicked with the Breach
Massa,
update
massa.
launching on April the 30th. It will be well worth the wait.
Já um gostinho aí, né? Cara, Isso que é uma maneira de ter um jogo em Early Access, né, mano? Como é que o jogo ele mudou realmente quando ele foi lançado pra cá, tipo, o sistema dele e tal. A partir de feedback. Então isso que é o legal de lançar o jogo em Early Access. O foda é que o jogo não lança, ele vai lançando em pedacinho assim, e aí de repente do nada toma o resto do jogo, né? É dia 30 de abril, clã. É, falta um mês e meio. Falta um mês e meio pra chegar aqui. Com certeza vamos conferir, clã. Principalmente quando lançar aqui um co-opzinho. Vambora. Mas e aí, o que vocês acharam, rapaziada? Deixa abaixo nos comentários. Achei bem legal, né? Eu acho legal quando dá uma mudança assim. Tem algumas mudanças que foram interessantes. A gente vai ter que testar pra ver se ficou melhor ou pior, né? Foi uma coisa que mudou muito, né? A questão do loot, né? Eu acho que tem potencial pra ficar legal. A questão da comida também, vou ter que testar, mas ele ficou numa forma um pouquinho mais tradicional, apesar de você ter, tipo, diferentes comidas que você pode fazer, mas ficou numa parada mais tradicional de, tipo, você não ficar... Você tem um limite de cura que você pode usar, né? Você não pode usar cura à vontade. Mas deixa abaixo nos comentários, rapaziada, se tá esperando aí, eu tô esperando bastante, cara, no Rest of the Week de poder lançar, mas ainda não temos uma expectativa de lançamento. Vamos ver aí, né, quanto que o jogo vai lançar, eu não sei, acho que esse ano ainda não, provavelmente vai ser um jogo que vai ficar pra 2026, talvez. O que vocês acham? Deixa abaixo no comentário. É claro, galera, se curtiu o vídeo, se quer deixar aquele crítica no like, se inscreve no canal e segue a gente nas nossas redes sociais. Pra você, ficando por aqui. Valeu, um abraço, até mais e fui!